I have something which I believe could very well be exciting news for Toshi, especially as the bull run progresses and especially after the market picks up again. Even though nothing I say is financial advice, I do believe that these factors could very well allow it for it to reach the price of 2 cents during this bull run. I'm not saying next week or the next 2 days or whatever, but again, I'm saying during the peak of this bull run because we have to take a look at how, at least in theory, right? Good news when it comes to the base network, I think is naturally going to become good news for Toshi. The reason being is because Toshi is on the base network. Now we take a look at this right here. We'll see that this article, according to the blog, right, it says that base activity, again talking about the base network here, declines from January peak, which may seem like a bad thing, but if we take a look at it further, it says that it still remains top Ethereum layer 2. Now, why is this massive? Because even despite having, decreased activity, right, base is still considered the top layer 2, at least according to this. Now, you have to think about this. When it comes to these Ethereum layer 2s, there's a bunch out there. Take a look at Myria, Immutable, Optimism, which actually, funnily enough, the base network was built in collaboration with Optimism, along with, Coinbase, of course, because the base network is Coinbase layer 2. But also, even beyond that, we take a look at Arbitrum. There's a lot, right? Of course, people also like Polygon, historically speaking. But again, the fact that when it comes to something like, the base network currently being top amongst Ethereum layer 2s, can you imagine this? I mean, really, this is how amazing it is. Now, again, this could change, day to day, week to week. But again, I'm just saying, currently having this kind of status, it shows something. Because here's the thing. Once the bull run picks up again, people are going to pay attention to these Ethereum layer 2s. I think naturally, it's only fair to assume that. And if people see that, hey, something like the base network, which may not necessarily be number 1 at that time, but let's say it's like top 5 or top 3, this is going to be massive. And people pay attention to stuff like this, right? It may not directly translate to the price of Toshi as of right now, because that's not necessarily how it works. But once the bull run is in 5th gear, this type of stuff does matter. And if you take a look at it, Toshi is considered the mascot of the base network because it's a meme coin that is named after Brian Armstrong's pet cat. Brian Armstrong is the co-founder of Coinbase. And again, I already mentioned the relation between Coinbase and the base network. So this all fits in line. Not to mention, Toshi has graduated beyond just this meme coin that people think is really bad or something like that. Well, that's actually not true because you take a look at Toshi, there's something called Toshi tools. Now, these tools will allegedly help someone, or guide someone towards their journey to be building on the base network. We take a look at these tools do include a multi-sender, a token locker, a liquidity locker, a token launcher, and even a launchpad too. So that's really amazing, right? Not to mention, we take a look at something called Toshi Mart, which is allegedly this meme coin launchpad, at least that's what I like to call it. But this basically just allows anyone to launch their own meme coin. And I'm not necessarily saying that this is going to have the best adoption or something like that. But if you take a look at Toshi, they're pushing the boundaries of what a meme coin is expected to be. People usually think about a meme coin as something that doesn't necessarily have a good use case. And that is still true. But you know what? This is like doing extra credit. When you take a college class, right? Sometimes there's like extra credit. This is like that. It's not really necessary. Of course, if you're already doing good in the class anyways, okay, extra credit, I guess. If you already have an A, then what's that really going to do? But I'm just saying, if let's say someone has a B, a C plus or whatever, B minus, that extra credit could help. Now, Toshi's already doing very well, but you know what? They understand that, hey, why not we push the boundaries, right? Why not we do that extra credit, quote unquote? That's what I like to call it. A meme coin with a good use case is like someone who does extra credit in class. And you know what? I've done that a couple times before, even though I've always been a good student. But I'm just saying, I just always wanted to make sure that, hey, you know what? In case the finals, for whatever reason, I got a not good score, this could help. Oh, why not? And now with that being said, some people like to wonder, okay, what is the benefit of a layer 2? Much like, the base network or Arbitrum or whatever. Basically, in this case, is that it allows Ethereum to be enjoyed while at the same time not having to deal with a bunch of the nonsense, which is gas fees, of course, which are sky high, and also scalability, which is often a very big concern. Now, a layer 2 kind of combats that, again, while at the same time basically still allowing Ethereum to be enjoyed, which I think is a good concept. Now, granted, Ethereum does have some flaws because, of course, without these layer 2s, it's not going to be as dynamic, but I'm just saying, even despite that, Ethereum still has good adoption. You take a look at the Ethereum ETF, you take a look at the number of institutional investors, the amount of enterprise adoption, Ethereum is still going to do very fantastic. So naturally, as Ethereum does grow, these layer 2s, and arguably, again, the number one L2 as of right now, aka layer 2, right, is allegedly, according to this article, the base network. So again, naturally, as Ethereum does grow, I think this is going to grow along with the ride. Not to mention, I think the board is still far from over. Usually, as a worst case scenario, altcoins, they typically peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. Again, this historically speaking as a worst case. That would actually mean around October this year based on the last Bitcoin halving event that happened in April of last year. So the way I view it is that, yes, in the short to medium term, we could very well see a lot of volatility, right? Things can maybe go up one day, go down. It's just very unpredictable maybe in the short term. But really, I think moving forward near the end of this year, it could be a lot more dynamic. I think things are going to start picking up again probably in the summertime. Usually before the bull run is in fifth gear, before things really peak, usually that's when a lot of people start leaving. They start giving up, at least from what I've seen, right? And even if we take a look back in 2021, let's say during March at that time, did anyone really believe that number of months later, Dogecoin was going to exceed over $80 billion in market cap? Shiba Inu was going to go to around 40 billion. I highly doubt that like 99% of the crypto owners at that time, around March thought that was going to happen number of months later to, something like Dogecoin and Shiba Inu. But of course, probably some of the fans did, but I'm just saying the general consensus wasn't like that. So the way to take a look at it is that, yes, things can seem a little bit uncertain, but I've looked back in history. I've known to train myself to think that, hey, you know what? If things are kind of bad, I'll just continue to dollar cost average. That's it. And keep in mind, Toshi at the price of 2 cents, if it were to go to that price, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $8 billion. I mean, come on, man. We've seen like Dogecoin reach over 80 billion. Again, like I mentioned before, Shiba Inu reached around 40 billion. And this was years ago. And I'm not saying that Toshi is going to become the biggest meme coin of all time, because it probably isn't, right? I'm just going to say it straight up because I don't think it will be. But the way I view it is that this is, not too bad, and still going to around an $8 billion market cap is around a 44x from here. So, I mean, just imagine that. It's still very dynamic. I can't tell anyone to do anything in terms of like, I'm not telling anyone to buy, Toshi. I can only speak on my behalf, but I'm still buying. Any time on income, acquiring, holding, and just waiting, because seeing news like this when it comes to the base network, it really does get me excited. It doesn't necessarily mean that this is directly involving Toshi, but of course, again, my general mentality and my principle is the fact that good news for the base network is, of course, going to benefit projects that are on there, right? So I think it's only fair to assume that, this is very good news when it comes to something like Toshi, and I'm very excited, and I think it's very exciting as well. Again, this news, and again, Toshi at the price of 2 cents, that right there still wouldn't surprise me whatsoever during this bull run. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. Greatly appreciated. It's Malik the Captain, and I'll catch you all in the next one. I'm all peace. Bye.